Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Today I Want to Be, our career exploration interview. I'm so excited that you guys have decided to tune into our show today. We actually do this show once a month because it goes hand in hand with the calendar that I actually was able to create. And I got a feedback. I got feedback. Did y'all hear that too? Oh, really? I guess I was the only one. But anywho, thank you so much for tuning in. So, a part of the calendar is I have weekly goals for the girls as well as words of encouragement. And another benefit was each month we did virtual live interviews with the 12 women that was featured in the 2020 calendar because I decided that I wanted to create a calendar that features Black women in their careers so that young girls would be able to have an opportunity to interview them and talk to them and figure out if this is a career that they were interested in being in. I'm really excited that we had Miss February here. She is actually a software engineer and her name is Shireen Hemingway. And then we also have Addison here that's going to be talking to Shireen and asking her some questions. And if you are watching right now live, just give us a virtual shout out. Another great thing is you're able to ask Shireen questions as well. So you can just figure out if this is a career that you would like to go into. So don't be afraid, just go ahead and type it in the computer, post your comment, post your question, and we'll be able to ask those questions to Shireen. And Shireen is a very nice woman, so don't be afraid, to ask her a question because that's what this is all about. Figuring out if this is a career that you are interested in going into. So, Addison, can you just tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Hi, my name is Addison Burns. I am 11 years old. I'm 11 years old, and I go to Gotham Middle School, and I have a little sister named Adira.
What is her name?
Adira.
Oh, that's pretty. That is nice. That is nice. So now, Shireen, tell us just a little bit more about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shireen Hemingway. My day job, I'm a software engineer. I've been in the field for about 3 years now, in the actual industry, a little over 6. And so currently I work for Spectrum as a software engineer working on the Salesforce.com platform. I'm a little older than 11, but God is good.
So tell me that last part again. You said that you've been working in the field for how long?
So I have been kind of in corporate America for about 7 years. While I was at a sales rep, Michelin, the tire company, began to onboard the Salesforce.com platform globally. I love technology, and so they brought me in kind of as a guru to really tell them about the system and how it should work for sales reps. It was kind of a blessing in disguise to where they actually brought me in on the global team that was bringing it out. And once I joined, I began to get my certifications and really just kind of throw myself into the platform. And so the platform is Salesforce.com, is a CRM systems, customer relationship maintenance. And what that means is when you're a sales rep and you're out in the field and you're trying to get leads and opportunities and convert that into real revenue and profit, the Salesforce platform allows reps to keep track of those customers, those sales, and to continue to grow their business. And so I build that platform for them.
That's amazing because when I use Salesforce, I'm like, who created this thing? That is so.
I don't take credit for creating it, but I am a engineer that uses the platform and enhance it so that depending on the company that I'm working for, allow the reps to customize it for that company and make it useful for them to grow their portfolio.
Interesting. So now, Shireen, how did you first hear about what a software engineer does?
Actually, it was just a colleague of mine a couple years ago. I knew nothing about this platform when I first started out of college. But once, like I said, the company I was working for previously, when they decided to onboard it for all sales reps, it was something that was going to, number one, impact my day-to-day work. And then number two, if I didn't know how to use it, I couldn't make my bonus. And so while I was really teaching myself the platform and learning how it worked, during that time, I kind of fell in love with it. And so I just reached out to people who had been in the platform and just learned more about it. And once I kind of got into it, I went to my first Salesforce conference in San Francisco. Blew my mind. I didn't even know this entire world existed. And so once I left that conference, I knew Salesforce could allow me to kind of go into a future that I loved. And every day I wake up, I actually love what I'm doing. And so here we are today.
That's good. That's good. So now, Edison, I know that you have a couple of questions. Can you ask Shireen one of your questions?
My first question is, how many years do you need in college to become a software engineer?
It's a great question. Thank you, Addison. Technically, you don't really need a college degree. You do, however, need an array of certifications. I would recommend, if you are in college, it's a great way to just learn the basics of software. And so having majors such as information and technology or computer science, just to get the basic knowledge of computers, you'll get a kind of an intro to coding. But what would really help you in my particular line of work is there's a site called trailhead.salesforce.com. And on that platform, it actually teaches you, it takes you through these really great modules that teach you the platform. Once you go through a certain amount of modules and projects, you can actually take certifications. The cool thing about Salesforce is you can actually get certified in high school. You don't necessarily need a college degree to get certifications in the platform. And so if it's something you're interested in, I would recommend playing on the site now, get your certifications, and while you're in college, if you take that degree on top of that, you'll be unstoppable by the time you get ready to get job offers graduating.
That's good. So what does a typical workday look like for you, Shireen?
So for me, a typical day, my previous role was a lot more flexible. And so I do love the fact that I do have both sides of the coin, where I've had that very relaxed as far as schedule go, where I work from home 90% of the day.
Wow.
Versus now I'm in the office 90% of the day. And so to have lived in both dynamics, I don't know which one I like more. There's some days I like going in the office, some days I don't. But currently my day-to-day consists of, I get in about 8:30. We have this amazing team where we meet a couple of times a week and just kind of go over the cases that the business comes in. And so what my day-to-day consists of is, again, remember the Salesforce platform as reps. If there's any issues, for example, if you turn on your phone today and you try to go to your Facebook app and the app's not working, you get an error message, something's missing, what happens is we receive cases or requests of saying, hey, here's the issue, here's how it's affecting my business, and here's when I need to fix, essentially. And so what we do is we come together as a team. We try to figure out a solution within the platform that would work. And then we just take it from there and begin configuring a solution in the platform for the sales reps to enhance their work. We have monthly releases. So each month we take all of our cases, and one night, once the business closed, we actually stay up at midnight and we push everything into the platform because we don't want to disrupt business. We test that through the night to make sure that the platform is working. And then the next day, when businesses start at 9 a.m., the new functionality has been placed, everything's working smoothly, and we go to the next batch of cases for the next release.
So I know that you mentioned, sometimes you have to stay up later. How do you feel about that, Edison? Like, are you a night person or a day person?
I'm more of a noon person.
I got you. Me too. Sure is. Me too. Me too. So how often do you have to work those late hours like that, Shireen?
So it's once a month,
not
which
bad.
isn't, considering my previous role. So my previous role, I was on a constant global clock. And so that project, still the same title, still essentially the same role. It was just on a bigger scale. So you can imagine currently with my current job, everything is local within the United States. And so it's business hours, 9 to 5, once 5, everything's over. My previous project, I was on a global clock, meaning when business closed here, business was still open in other countries. And so there were times where I had 4 a.m. meetings with China or 6 p.m. meetings with Europe. And so I just had to maneuver that part. So the trade-off of this once a month, staying up at midnight, I'll take it all day.
Yeah, definitely. So what's another question you have for Shireen, Addison?
My next question is, how do you think coding has changed in the last 15 years?
So I think coding technically is still the same. I just think the approach and the fear of coding has changed over the years. I know for me, when I was your age, the idea of a software engineer or a developer or a coder just seemed like something way off. I was like, I don't even know if I understand half the things that they're talking about. But what I love about the platform that I work in, or even kind of the evolution of technology today, is that they've transformed all of the, the coding and that foreign language into what's considered kind of the point and click. So if you look now, where you can essentially go on places like Squarespace and build a website just by pointing and clicking. I want to drag a picture here. I want to put a word here. And you don't realize you're actually coding. The system is just doing all the coding for you. So I think companies and the evolution of technology has really just empowered people to say, hey, we can teach you how to do this yourself without, the headache of all the coding in the background. We'll make the system do all the coding. All you do is tell the system where you want certain things to go and how you want to navigate each site.
Okay.
So it sounds like, because honestly, I didn't have coding when I was in high school because I never heard of it, but I feel like it's been like a big boom, and all you hear now is about like coding and STEM and things like that. Um, when you're talking about like the point and click, does that just apply for websites or other things that maybe I just don't know about?
So there's two sides of when it comes to coding or technology. So what I do as a software engineer, technically there is a part of my job that requires me to understand coding. There's not, there are rare occasions where I have my headphones on and I'm actually typing out, what you see on TVs where you do the full screen of coding. Kind of that portion. There are still developers who do that. But what I love about why technology is being pushed and why it is a field that I think, even if it's not your primary source of income, to have some knowledge about it is, if you can, like I said, because even you've built a website, like if you can look at websites and maneuver through a system and tell the system, hey, this is where I want to put certain things, the system will do it itself. And so Salesforce.com, it's essentially the same approach. It allows you to create pages, create processes, create this whole world of a rep waking up in the morning, logging into Salesforce, pulling up their accounts, sending their account email, pulling up pricing, sending campaigns, notification. All of this can be done simply by pointing and clicking and telling the program what you want. What I love, and I've been encouraging people in the last year, is like, go get your certifications, go play in the platform. It's not as complicated as you may think. And there's so many job opportunities today. I get calls almost monthly asking for recommendations of people who are looking to hire people immediately to fill these voids, because for our generation, there are millions of jobs available. We just have to get those certifications and put our foot forward. Yep.
I think one thing that I'm kind of confused on is when you say, just go to the platform and play around with it and get your certification for it. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by a platform? Like, what's considered as a platform?
So in particular, when I say platform, so Salesforce.com is considered the platform,
Okay.
or the website, or the program. So
Okay.
platform, website, program, it all kind of means the same thing. And so Salesforce.com is the platform that companies use to enhance their business.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to help maintain the platform, to help
Okay.
maintain the system that, or the website that these companies use to allow their employees to go out to customers and to generate business and grow their portfolio.
Okay.
Okay.
So now, is it safe to say that you work for Salesforce?
So I actually work for Spectrum, but I am certified as a software engineer for Salesforce.com.
So
That
would
makes
a
sense.
person, kinda,
Okay.
does a person have to, let's say, for example, you work for Spectrum.
Mhm.
Um, can you just throw out another platform that you can be certified for?
Absolutely. So you can be certified in things like Oracle.
Okay, so don't say no more. So
Okay.
you're certified in you work for Spectrum, and then you're certified with
Salesforce.
Salesforce. And then if you want, you can get certified with Oracle. And then if Spectrum needs to use Oracle, you will be certified to help them with that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. So let me ask you this, Addison. So Addison, what challenges do you think that Shireen faces?
I think one challenge that you, Miss Hemming, you might face,
Anyone? Uh-huh.
is having the time and space to have everything set up and to make sure that everything is working right.
That's really good. So a big challenge definitely is when we have large cases that have a lot of processes that build on it. And I'll try to simplify it because it can be confusing. So I'm gonna try to find a metaphor. Okay, so let's say we're building a scooter. And so the full scooter build would be considered a perfect running system. Following me? And so sometimes my job not only consists of building the entire scooter so that a person can jump on and ride off without it breaking or getting hurt, but I also have to make sure that every little piece that adds up to that full scooter works. And so if one piece don't work, if there's a chip in the wheel, if I put the wheel on backwards, if the handlebars aren't right, if I forget to put the brakes on, like all of those could affect the long-term functionality of that scooter. And so there are challenging times where I could spend weeks, building the part that you stand on the scooter, getting the handlebars ready and going. Maybe I got the wheels together, but then once we get to the end, there may be one little small thing. Maybe it's the brakes aren't tightened enough, and so once the scooter takes off, something falls off, and now I got to bring the whole thing back. So one of the major challenges of my job is to constantly test as I build and not try to build everything and then test at the end, because then I'm just setting myself up for more work. And so it's very important as you are working big projects to constantly test, so that once you get to the end, you probably tested some things maybe 10 times. So when you put the whole scooter together, you're confident that it'll take off and work. And you've already tested anomalies. You've already tested potholes. Will the wind be too hard and knock them over? You've tested all of that. And so it is challenging sometimes once you have big projects and you have to pull the whole thing back because of one or two little things that don't work. I hope that metaphor didn't lose you guys.
That was such a good example, girl. I'm telling you, that's what I need. I need examples like that. But I feel like you really do have to have patience, especially since you have to test out like every single little thing for that. Addison, are there any other challenges you think that Shireen faces?
Another challenge I think that she might face is making sure everyone works as a team and making sure no one's trying to do all of this when they have others trying to do this as well.
That's good.
Yeah. So, contrary to popular belief, a software engineer, we're not antisocial. We actually have to be very social. My job requires me to talk to people all day, even when I don't want to. So I network all day in my job. But yes, it is. It's a very team-oriented industry, to where, like I said, for smaller, one or two offs, you can do those yourself. But for really big projects, even just this week, I was given a case, and I won't get too technical, but it required me to put together this big formula. And what formulas are is essentially you have to tell the system what to do. Like, you can't just type out a sentence that says, when Martinique clicks submit, send it to manager. Like, you can't put out two sentences. You have to put in all of these different scenarios so that the system can do, when you click submit, it goes to your manager. And so just this week alone, me and my team was sitting looking at this big whiteboard for 2 days straight, just trying to figure out one little formula where if a comma is out of place or a parenthesis, or you put the wrong field somewhere, the system would do totally opposite of what you need it to do. And so those kind of things, you really do rely on your teammates, and really not being afraid of asking for help. But your team will help you shine, and when you get scenarios where you just like, I don't know what I'm missing here, what am I missing? So fresh pair of eyes and a great team camaraderie can go a long way in this industry.
That's good. So now, Shireen, what is a challenge that we missed that you face?
So one of the major challenges that you guys haven't listed is just the idea of always having to learn new things. If you think about technology, when you first got introduced to the first cell phone or computer to where we are now, I mean, Addison, you probably don't remember the days of the green screen computers, but I do. And so if you think about where computers have evolved over time, in my profession, like, I have to constantly learn things. So because even though I got my certifications, they're regulated constantly. So 3 times a year, I have to take maintenance tests to keep my certification. And so just because it's not like a college degree where you get it and you just have it, when you get certifications as a software engineer, you have to constantly continue to take tests to keep your certification, just so they know that, number one, you have knowledge of what's currently going on in the industry. And then number 2, you're still actively in the platform working and learning the craft, and you're not recommending solutions that may be out of date or no longer in the platform.
So what happens if you do not pass a certification? Can you just take it as many times as you want until you pass?
Yeah, so the great thing about Salesforce is very standard. So it's $200, which if someone told me this when I was in college, I would have been taking certs, almost every month. But yeah, so it's $200 to take your initial certification. If you do not pass, you can retake it. I think it's $100 to retake it. You can retake it as many times as you would like. There is some, prerequisite certifications you have to take in order to take other advanced certifications. But once you take, I think it's the basic just admin certification in regards to Salesforce.com. Once you take that one, they pretty much give you access to kind of pick your path. Hey, do you want to be more of a platform developer? Do you want to be more of a consultant? Or do you want to be more of a systems administrator or configuration engineer? And so, although I decided the route of being an engineer, there are routes within Salesforce.com that you could become an expert on building the platform, on being a developer, or just being a consultant, telling people, hey, this is what the platform can do. Let me recommend a solution, even though you're not physically building it out, which is what I do.
So now I know when people sometimes hear like $200, I'm not paying that. Sometimes, is it safe to say that your company may pay for these different things as well?
It is safe to say. So the one thing, I mean, which really isn't, a software engineer related, but this was any job. Anytime you take job opportunities, always, don't be afraid to negotiate. And so if there are certifications or things you want to do, maybe it's a conference or maybe it's a training class that you really want to do, don't be afraid to throw it on the table. And so once I got into the platform, I made it a priority to always discuss my future ambitions in regards to growing within this industry. And so, yes, I've told, when I got hired, I was like, hey, I want to get, 3 certifications in 2020 just this year. If there's, opportunities for reimbursement, I would love that. They were absolutely, if it makes you a better employee, go get your certifications. There's conferences that come up. I always ask before I come out of pocket, hey, is there any, funds allocated to send someone? And then you just have to be able to package it in a way to say, hey, me going to this conference, here's how it will benefit our team in the long run. Here's how it will help me be a better employee and help our company grow. So if you can present those kind of things in any opportunity, go for it. But yes, most companies will pay for your certifications.
That's good. So now, Addison, what other question do you have for Shireen?
My next question is, how diverse is the software engineering industry?
I'm sorry, say that part again.
How diverse is the software engineering industry?
How did you? I missed
how diverse is?
Oh, diverse. I'm sorry, I missed that. It's actually very, very diverse when it comes to male versus female and even different cultures. What I love about, being in this industry is that I've met some amazing people who've lived in the States, who've lived out of the country. I always tell my fun story. So 2 years ago, I can't believe it's been 2 years that long. So 2 years ago, I was on this global project within Salesforce.com. I was working for a different company at the time, but just in 1 year, I got to go to Brazil 8 times, which is crazy. Free of charge, all expenses paid, corporate credit card. I got to go to Brazil and meet some amazing team members who work for the same company. You would never meet them in other scenarios, but to just see how the company you work for has this entire, group of people who can give you information about how the business works in different countries and different cultures. And then after work, just getting to know people in general. So it's been amazing. I mean, I've been to Brazil, I've been to Japan, I've been to Europe, and just all within working as a software engineer. So like I said, opportunities are always there when you have certain traits that they can't find and you're good at it. They'll bring you in, they'll make a job for you in most scenarios and send you anywhere you want to go. That's what I do love about this job.
That's a really good question, Addison. Because I wondered the same thing, are there a lot of Black women in this industry?
So as far as a software engineer, I've met a handful. I don't think there's many like engineers and developers, but since I've been in, I've seen a growth spurt like is unheard of. And so I think as people realize that software isn't this, foreign word, it's not something that you have to have 30 years of coding experience in. I think that once people start understanding that and really just figuring out if college isn't for them, there's other opportunities you can get, instead of being $60,000 in debt, you can pay a couple hundred, get certifications and really learn a trade and start a career. And so I've seen this industry just in the last year that I've been here grow. I love seeing Black women when I go to conferences. I feel like it's an unspoken like, hey,
Yeah.
sis. But it's grown crazy. So anytime I go to a conference, it warms my heart when I see strong Black women walking the halls like, no, I'm a developer here. I'm an engineer here. Like I'm not just passing through. Like this is my industry as well. I love to see it.
So, okay, looking back, knowing that you could get your certifications, during high school, would you have went the route of going to college for it then?
I always told the line there. I think the things I learned in college were more so along the lines of like learning computers. But again, I think it's safe to say college doesn't have to be the option now. There's so many other options when it comes to finding a career. So as far as, you know, this particular platform, there's no requirement to have a college degree. Now, granted, when a company comes to hire you, it would be a better look for your resume to have a college degree. But if you've been getting if you've been getting certifications in the platform, let's say you start in 11th grade, say you get the first cert in 11th grade, 12th grade, you get another cert, and you actually been actively in the platform, you're completing badges, and so when you getting points, completing badges, that's what happens in the platform. By the time you graduate high school, at this point, you're 18 and you have 2 certifications, you've been in the platform. There's companies who have college graduates who haven't got their first certification. So, I mean, it does help stand out. And if you want to look at the monetary comparison, $400 for 2 certifications versus, you know, what your debt essentially would be in coming out of college. If I know, you know, then what I know now, I would have it would have been nice to know there were other options, because when I graduated, I thought college was the only option. And honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do until after I got out of college, as far as, yeah, I didn't know I wanted to be a software engineer when I graduated.
So what degree do you have?
So I have just a marketing degree in a business marketing degree. And so when I graduated, I actually wanted to work at a marketing firm. I wanted to be a consultant and just, you know, change the world that I knew social media was coming. And as, you know, opportunities presented itself, I was in sales. I sold 18-wheeler tires of all things. And I kind of gotten thrown into this technology world, and I fell in love with it. I started getting my certifications and just grew from there.
That's good. I'm telling you, this is why it's good to talk to these people, because you just never know like where they started, how they ended up, why did they even decide to go into these different careers. So Addison, I know that you have another question. What's another question you have?
Does being a software engineer take as much creative thinking as when you are writing poetry?
She studied up on you, girl.
I appreciate it. That's a good question. As far as, I don't think being a software engineer gives me the complete autonomy as a writer.
What do you mean by autonomy? What does that mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. So complete autonomy means there's no rules, there's no structure, the freedom essentially.
Okay.
And so the difference, so when I'm in writing mode, and I guess we'll get into the fact that I'm also a writer, there's really no rules. I write how I feel, I write what comes to mind, and I just let my imagination run wild. When I got my software engineer cap on, my freedom comes from just thinking outside of the box. I do love challenges. And so when I get challenging cases that require me to really challenge or push the limits of what the system can do to see if I can find a solution within, those are the times where I feel like my brain is working, twice as hard, and I love it. And so in those, I take to the whiteboard. So anytime you've seen on movies where people like on the whiteboard draw, that's me. So I draw everything out. I make all of these process, these flow charts. And my mind, that's the part I love about the job, is to be able to have these really tough cases and think of, this functionality that probably didn't exist. And then once we push it into a production environment, to really see people using a solution that I provided just based on just out of the box or left field thinking.
So how do you feel about that, Addison? Do you feel like you want to work somewhere that it just gives you that freedom, like that autonomy that she was talking about, like you being able to do the things you want to do?
Yes, it does.
Why do you like that?
I like being free and not having rules to follow, strict rules to have to go by every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I hate being micromanaged. It was never in the cards for me. I don't mind having a manager, but I love
Mhm.
managers. And I'm fortunate that since I graduated, I've always had managers who've empowered me
Yes,
to where
good.
they say, hey, I know your job and I know you do your job well. If you need me, I'm here. If things get complicated or lost, but as far as the day to day, like you do it, handle it. I believe in you. Go
Mhm.
forth and be great. Every manager I've ever had has always had that approach, and so I love it. I love the fact that if I have to leave, I can leave, but my manager knows like I'll get my work done. There's really no like, okay, you have to be stuck at your desk for 8 hours a day. And so the
Mhm.
flexibility of a software engineer is that you can really do your job anywhere as long as you have a laptop and internet. You can log into everything is cloud based now, which is amazing. There's no, the idea of this server, you got to have this big backpack behind you. All you need is a phone or a laptop, and there are parts of your job that you can be successful using just that.
That's good. So now what is your next question for Shireen
My
Addison?
my next question is, what is your favorite part about being a software engineer?
These are some really great questions. I love them.
She is good. She's good.
All right. I think the best part, and I think I may have touched on it earlier, is just being able to solve an issue, whether it's big or small, but just the fact that I, Shireen, have solved an issue that will now help someone in my company do their job a little less headache, sleep better at night, and frankly, not lose business because of a ill functioning part of the system. So I think the favorite part of my job is just knowing that there's real life evidence of the change that I'm making within a company.
That's good. So now let me ask you this, Addison. What are three characteristics that you think Shireen needs to have to be successful
I
at her
think
job?
I think you have to be open minded,
Mm-hmm. That's good.
patient, and have a sense of what you want to do and how you want to do it and what you want to get done.
That's good. How she do, Shireen?
She hit one of the ones I had on my list. That was
uh,
good.
which one?
Just being open minded, and it was open minded and thinking outside of the box. Some other
Mhm.
ones that I had would be communication skills, and whether that's literal or technical. It's very important in my job to be able to take like literal terms. So if you come to me and say, "Hey, Shireen, I'm trying to click submit and I can't. I want to be able to click submit." You say that to me in a sentence. My job is to be able to transform that literal conversation into a technical conversation. And so I have to be able to not only develop it, but I have to put together documentation technically that talks what your issue is, but also how I will solve that issue in the platform. Another characteristic would be highly motivated and self-sufficient. The self-sufficient part is very important. Like I said, your job isn't really micromanaged. You're
Mm.
given you're given your own queue essentially to manage. And so if you have 10 cases to complete by the end of the month, no one's standing over you every day saying, "Hey, where are you on your case? Hey, where are you on your case?" But at the end of the month, when that midnight deployment occurs, there is an expectation that those cases are completed, those cases have been tested, and they're ready to go into the platform. And so you really have to be able to manage your own time well so that you can achieve the goals that are set in front of you. And then problem solving, which is, I think you need that in every job you take on. But specifically as a software engineer, the bulk of my job is taking a problem, figuring out a solution for it, and then developing that solution so that that issue no longer is going on in the system.
That's good. So, Addison, I have a question for you. What is something that you have learned about a software engineer that you didn't know about before this interview?
Something I've learned is that you have to be ready to take on the challenge and be able to have your certification and be ready to jump into anything.
That's good. Addison, are you sure you 11? Girl, you are
I was like, wait a minute.
solid. You are good. And Shireen, I don't know if I asked you this question or not, but did we talk about like the challenges that you face as we did?
Yeah, so
I remember.
we touched on it, like, and it was kind of my scooter metaphor, but I mean,
Okay.
yeah, and essentially the challenge is, making sure that you're constantly testing along the way, so that when you get to the end or the finish line, you don't have to turn around and start back over. So that, like I said, that's just a major challenge when it comes to my particular job day to day.
Yeah, yeah. And I do have just one question for you though. So I know that we did talk about how diverse the industry is now becoming. Um, Specifically with the team you're on now, do you work with a lot of men?
Yes, predominantly men.
Really? Really? So now, Addison, how do you feel about that? Because things might be totally changed, but what if it didn't? Do you think you would like to work around like a lot of men, like if you became a software engineer?
I wouldn't necessarily want to, but I'd be ready to take on anything.
Come on.
You get ready. Let me know you're looking for a job.
Yes.
I appreciate her. But yeah, I mean, it's a male dominant industry in the past, and like I said, as time grows, more women have come into it. But I've been, like I said, my previous team, there was a female who was the global director. And there were female engineers, female architects, female analysts, so it was a mixed group. Particularly this team, because it's smaller, it's predominantly men. We're actually about to bring on a new member who is a female, and she's a Black female, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, so it just, in particular with my team, it's just a small team. But as this industry grows, I love to walk the hall or even just take a scroll around the business and just see all of the Black women who are in technology. Like I said, I think it makes my heart just smile. But I'm excited to see the future of technology in regards to these young, brilliant minds who are about to come and change our world.
That's good. So now, last question for you, Addison. Why did you want to interview Shireen, the
Because
software engineer?
I want to figure out more about what I want to do when I'm older, and I want to have an open mind to see what jobs I can have and what jobs would be fun to have.
That's good. And Shireen, what about you? Why did you want to be featured in the calendar to help people to see more about your career? Why was that important for you?
Like, I think one of the passions or the torch that I've taken when I started growing in this industry really is to bring not only women or bring other millennials in, but Black women. And so anybody who knows me and have talked about my job, there's always not necessarily a pitch at the end, but it's a conversation of, hey, what are you doing now? What do you want to do? And have you ever thought about, getting into technology? And then that turns into a conversation of actually introducing them into the, Salesforce.com platform. I've, also helped people creating accounts within the Trailhead training module, just to show them like, hey, it's a free module. You don't have to pay to learn how to use the platform. You just have to pay to be certified. And so I, for one, wanted to be a part of this calendar to just let people know this is what a software engineer looks like also. And people may have not seen someone who looks like me as a software engineer. And I wanted to let people know we're out here, we exist, and we want to see more people like me.
Definitely, definitely. Now, and this is for real, my last question for you, Shireen. But but if we have a viewer out there that's just like, I don't mind learning, but technology really isn't my forte, would you encourage them to still go that route and just try to teach themselves? Like, how do you feel about that?
I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. So, I mean, with my personality, I would just try to package it in a way to let them know, like, hey, if you're scared of technology, let's actually let's log into the platform and let's let you play around with it just to see if it is as scary that it is. But there's some people who just don't have an interest in technology, and that's okay. But again, the great thing I love about the particular software that we're using, Salesforce, is that you don't necessarily have to be an engineer or developer. There are certain routes you can go just to be a consultant or to just, help people or train people using the platform. And so there's many routes you can take in the realm of technology. You don't necessarily have to be behind the computer screen coding and building out processes. So like I said, anytime I get a chance to talk about what I do, I'm always open. Addison, if you want to reach out to me, my email, and if you want to learn about getting certified, I'd love to, because it's a fun system. And I don't know, and I know I sound like a computer nerd saying that, but it's a fun system to play in. I love it, and it pays my bills. So
Definitely. And I will put Shireen's contact information, her social media handles, in the description box as well. Shireen, I thank you so much just for being a part of the calendar, doing the interview, and really just being open and honest about your career so that we can have a better understanding if we want to go into the software engineer industry. Addison, I thank you so much for your great questions and being on the show. You all, if you're interested in becoming a featured professional, I'm looking for men and women. So if you could just simply go to the website, todayiwanttobe.com, then that would be great. And it's the number 2. So todayiwanttobe.com. And if you're interested in becoming a co-host, just like Addison, make sure you also visit the website, go up to join the movement, and then it will say become a co-host. I hope you guys have a great night, and we will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.